Welcome to the second episode of the Unclean series of In the Middle, hosted by Roy and Cedric. In this episode, they talk about the consequences of lashon hara, or evil speech. If you'd like to read along, reference passages are in the show notes, and we hope you enjoy this episode of In the Middle.
Well, if Mashiach took 40 days to prepare himself, to cleanse himself, to purify himself, how much more should we have those moments? And the thing is, with the way that Torah operates in, let's say, the New Testament era, for lack of better terms, we are to judge ourselves.
Right.
So it should be on us to say, okay, I'm taking these times if I know that I'm struggling with something. Or, you know what, it doesn't even have to know, because even in these offerings, when she gives a sin offering, that can be misleading to the reader in so much that the reader said, well, she must have sinned. She had to give a sin offering. No, she didn't sin. There was no sin involved. The sin offering, more times than not, covers the sin that you don't even know you committed because you lack the understanding. So as a form of life in this era, you would give sin offerings, just knowing that you weren't perfect. Not necessarily because you did something. If you did do something, yeah, obviously you gave a sin offering. And sometimes those sin offerings could grow in monetary value. I mean, we've got this down to doves. And I think yours said it's probably turtle, dove, and pigeon in yours.
Right.
It's the same word. Let me find that. It's the same word, other than, if I can find it, Yonah right here. So this is the word yours is translating as pigeon, which is Yonah, which is Jonah, as in Jonah in the whale. And it's the same word for both pigeon and dove. But we have this one, tor. This is specific to turtle dove. And as I've been learning, English does not like using the same words over and over again. So you can have a word, if it has two definitions, if the word occurs twice, they'll use definition number one for the first word, definition number two for the second word.
Yeah.
The English, whoever came up with it, they did not like doubling the information on there. But in Scripture, there's no difference between a dove and a pigeon. So, and what's funny is, I think yours says a young dove. It actually, and that's proper, but it's uven Yonah. And the children of a dove, so it's the babies. So where yours says pigeon, ours says young dove, because it's just the babies of it, but there's no difference. And actually, I had to kind of look it up, because I know that if you look at pictures of doves and pigeons, at some point you can't tell them a difference. We all know the big pigeons in the park,
Right.
but there's a rock dove, and a white pigeon is the same species. And the white pigeon is the ones that look like doves that they use at weddings, because they're small like a dove. But anyways, it's the same thing. But yeah, it's for the sin offering is, I don't want to say it's just in case. It's knowing that you're not perfect. And so you give the sin offering because, if you look at redemption for someone who's greatly sinned, you're using hyperboles in the Bible. All 30 fatted calves, or something like that. When someone knows or in the New Testament, I'll pay back anything I've taken. It goes over the top when someone is repentant and trying to get redemption or find redemption in that repentance process. But in this, as the course of the daily offerings go, it's covering the sin I didn't know I did. I didn't have any conviction of it. I don't have any recollection of it. So it is still that purification process. So for me, it's kind of incredible. And I understand it's a woman because she's the one giving birth, but it's still a woman that's going through this process. And to me, that's kind of incredible because of in the Hebrew of how she's elevated herself to a certain spiritual state.
Right. Yep. Yeah, and then of course, just the reality of the ceremony that has to happen for the male child, the bris, and everything that goes into that, removing of the foreskin, what that cutting represents. One thing that as I was looking into that I was really like, oh, that's interesting, was the specificity of the eighth day and the significance of that day and the various regulations if the child is sick and can't receive that particular mitzvah on that day because would put the child's health at risk.
Yeah.
It can be put off
Yeah.
till the child is better and then done. But when it's done, somehow it still is. It's retroactively as though it had received it on the eighth day.
That day. Yeah.
And I was like, that is
Yeah.
amazing. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like there's so many, because of course that reminded me of, you know, the blood of Christ.
Yeah.
And when we receive the gift and accept the baptism and all of that, that comes with salvation, that his blood covers us.
Yeah.
All the way.
Yep.
And
All the way back. Yeah.
And it's like that same mechanism, that same model. It's like an early revelation of how that works. And I'm like, God, when you do a thing,
Yeah. It's consistent.
you know, when you set the pattern in place, it stays efficacious, and it's just brilliant. Yeah, but of course, the next part that we go into from there is into chapter 13, which is such a stark.
Yeah.
Like is.
Well, what they have in common, though, there is a commonality between these two, meaning that the person is the source of uncleanness.
Right.
And so I think that's why they're paired at where they're at. But the second one, I'll let you kick it off because it's a mouthful and a mindful, I think.
Right. So at that point in chapter 13, we're looking at what happens when somebody gets leprosy, and how their process works, and being first what the priest should do and how they are removed from community, and then how they are restored to community by the priest, and in both cases by a word, which is interesting because in the Hebrew tradition, you get leprosy from lashon hara.
Yeah.
Evil speech.
Yeah.
So because you had this haughty, arrogant attitude and let it come out of your mouth, you find yourself with leprosy, you know, as the consequence. And so a word acknowledges your behavior.
Yeah.
And, you know, just life and death are in the tongue. So a word acknowledges your behavior. And because of that word publicly given, you are made unclean, and the community essentially rejects you.
Yeah.
Right. And you're forced to be removed from the camp, and the camp, all the way out.
All the way out. Yeah.
And then they, through a process of inspection and a process of what is supposed to be introspection by the person that has been designated unclean, they eventually come to a state where they can be restored. And then with a word, clean, you are restored back into community and back into the camp. And I'm like, man, it's your mouth that got you into trouble, but it's the community's response to that, and the divine instruction given that says, no, here's your consequence.
Yeah.
Now you have an outward expression of what has been in your heart showing on you. And our response to that is, nah, you can't kick it. You got to go, because this can't spread throughout the community.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. That whole thing was just mind blowing to me.
We focus on lashon hara because that's the examples that we get in Scripture with Miriam and Aaron. When they're grumbling against Moshe, Miriam is afflicted with leprosy and put outside the camp. Right. As hard as these scriptures are, to me, it's one of the most merciful sections of Torah, I think. And one I should also state, the word that is translated as leprosy in the English scriptures is it's tzaraat. And the rabbis are quick to point out that doesn't exist today. It's not leprosy like what we know today. It's a different sort of skin, and it's kind of like when I first learned about it, the term was used, dead man walking. Your heart's fine, your liver's fine, your kidney's fine. You still have all of your strength. You don't have headaches. You don't have nausea, but your skin is literally dying off of your bones to an extent. And we'll see in a second, there is a limit to this. And it's really the only one where the remedy is not necessarily given in Torah. You know, of all the things that's happened up until this point, a redemptive remedy has been given. Bring a half shekel silver. Right. You know, do all of these things. Bring gold as your heart moves you to. Bring the craftsman. There was a remedy given to us. There's a remedy for touching a dead body, the red heifer. Right. And then we had all kinds of remedies for idolatry with the golden calf. There's no remedy listed in Scripture that I'm aware of over catching tzaraat. And as you said, it's something that is the byproduct of your condition, your spiritual condition. And the reason why I see it is so mercifully, because if you're the one that caused the problem, guess who can fix it? You can. Right. You're the one that can also fix the problem. But it's also, and this is traditional, but we're taught that not everybody who did the things that caused tzaraat would get tzaraat, that it was actually put on people that were at a fairly high walk with the Lord, if we can say it that way, that had some spiritual rank to them. Because as we know, through the story of the strange fire, when you're that close to God, if the condition is not met, you can die. You will die. Right. We have died over that. And so this is one of those types of diseases that you're in a good, proper place with the Lord, in your walk with the Lord, in your spiritual development, but you didn't sanctify certain things properly. So we look at lashon hara, but they actually give a list of, most of it is to do with speech, but even sexual impurity is on that. The rest is haughtiness and pride, and some rabbis even put murder into the list. We stay with lashon hara because, like I said, that's the one that's demonstrated in the Bible. And lashon hara is evil speech. It's gossiping. Now, if we juxtapose this with the New Testament, as we've kind of pointed out before, Torah deals with, and God in Torah deals with actions that you have already done, with things that have occurred. He let us get done building the golden calf before he came down and dealt with that. He was still up there talking to Moshe on Mount Sinai, giving him Torah and instructions and all of that. And there's a party going on at the bottom. He didn't interrupt it. He didn't stop it. When it was complete, it got judged. If you juxtapose this with the New Testament and with Yeshua's teaching, then what you'd have to also add to the list would be, I don't know how I would put this, evil intent, wicked intent, even your intent to do bad. Now, that's not saying we're going to get tzaraat, because we don't now. We don't get it. That's not when we got when the Lord came forth, when the temple was done away with, a lot of these things were removed. But it was still merciful because it was a correction from the Father over your conduct. And technically all you had to do was change your conduct, and get clean on the inside, and then this would be dealt with. One
of the things that I liked when I was studying this, I read a story where the Rebbe said when someone had committed lashon hara, and they came to him and they said, well, how can I make amends for this? He said, okay, I want you to go home and I want you to get that nice down pillow, goose down pillow, and I want you to leave a trail from your house to my house with those feathers. And when you get there, I want you to go turn around and I want you to refill the pillow with the goose down feathers. And when you get home, then you'll have that's it. You'll have paid the price. And the gentleman was so happy. He goes home, he pulls the pillow, he tears it, opens it up, and he starts walking to the Rebbe's house and putting his goose down feathers down. And he gets all the way there, and he's like, yeah, all right, now I just got to put them back in. He turns around, and he can't find. He's distressed because the wind has blown them away. And he's like, Rebbe, I can't. You gave me something to do that's impossible. And he was like, right, because once lashon hara has come out, you can't put it back in. And put that into the modern day of social media. Right. Once you've said something, once you've done something, I mean, it's a tough thing, and I really do try to watch myself because there's a lot of times I saw a news
show, and it was like a bullying a kid. This was years ago, and it made national news. They were doing something on schools. I'm like, you just ruined this kid's life. Yeah, he was acting out, he was talking out and doing all those things, but now it's locked. It's on a firm foundation now for everyone to see. People will do things on social media, and I think we've got to have a whole lot more grace for them because it's not something said in private. And just as that rabbi was talking about, that the feathers are scattered to the wind, once you say something, it's out there. But there is a difference between in private and in public, and now nothing is really private.
Exactly.
You say something, everybody knows you said it now.
Right. It's like our mobile devices have become microphones and megaphones for that evil speech,
for anger and hatred.
And it just spreads so rapidly. Just this past week, a young lady behaved really badly at a park with a kid and called a black kid the N-word. And that was horrible, and it was recorded and caught on a phone and broadcast onto the internet and the whole nine. So that's bad enough. But then she did a GoFundMe. Basically, she was like, "I want to, get me and my child to a safe place," and blah 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 blah. And a whole bunch of people who basically thought and behaved the way she behaved donated up to $100,000. So it spread that dysfunctional thought process and gave a home for it, for more behavior of that type. Yeah. That's like lashon hara breeding lashon hara, literally. And I'm like, that is the kind of ways in which our technology is detrimental. Yeah. Like, sure, we can use it to inspire people, but too many people are far more comfortable using it to outrage and instigate and, sow dissension.
It's become a place for hatred. And remember, as we read through this, or as we have read through this, tzaraat is contagious. If you look at how they deal with the clothing and how they deal with the person's home, he's put out of his home while it's, what would you call it? They'd quarantine it. Right. It's contagious. Hatred is contagious. Unfortunately, righteousness is not contagious. Hatred is easy. It's easy to stir it up. And I had kind of left social media a number of years ago, and I think I was probably just as bad as anyone else. But other than the Lord checked me on it, and I kind of went through this thought process, and the things that I would share, they would be political statements or whatever. I took some time and I started trying to verify if I was telling the truth or not. 10 out of 10 times I was not telling the truth. Well, I didn't know that until I looked. That's bearing false witness. Right. So you share something that somebody said because it's your team. And the worst part about it is usually when people share it, they don't really care whether it's true or not. They want to get the other person kind of with the statement.
Yeah, they want to be right.
It's contagious. And we're going to get to a place, well, what happens when it takes over the whole world? Because it does spread like wildfire. You share things, you say things. There's a Jewish group that I'm affiliated with. We study, me and you both use their resources. And on social media, a guy, supposedly 2 Jews came and spoke at his, I don't know whether you'd call it a synagogue or a church, they're Sabbath keepers, and said that at this organization, they teach if a Gentile studies Torah, they should be killed. And I saw that. And so I went and got the actual public statement from the Jewish organization on their approach to teaching Torah to Gentiles because it was a false statement. The guy would not retract his statement. I asked him to do that publicly. I said, you have borne false witness. This statement is not true, and I can prove it to you. I said, I know these people. I've been studying under them for years now. Right. He absolutely would not do it. And at first I was so upset, and then I realized he can't. This thing has taken him over. He can't retract it. It can be a lie, it can be false, but he ain't letting it go. And that's why you see maybe some of the harshness of how tzaraat, the person with leprosy or tzaraat, is dealt with, because it's a force to be reckoned with when it gets out of control. Yes. And we're seeing that right now. And you have to be careful. And I'm talking to myself. Nobody needs to listen to this. I'm talking to myself. You have to be careful with self-righteousness. You have to be careful when you know that you're right, but how you approach that fact. You can't hate back. The New Testament tells us we are not to take pleasure. Is that the New Testament? When our enemy falls. That's not the New Testament. Proverbs 24:17-18. Let's pull it up real quick. Okay, go ahead and read it now. You can read it from yours, Cedric.
Okay. Rejoice not when thine enemy falleth, and let not thine heart be glad when he stumbleth, lest the Lord see it, and it displease him, and he turn away his wrath from him.
It's that heart part. Let not your heart be energized. Yeah, but just the strictness of dealing with your heart. So it's not even, and I mean, we can't call this Torah because it's the writings, the scriptures. But even in this Old Testament, it's telling you to guard your heart about the way you approach an enemy when they stumbles. And if you think about the climate we're in right at this moment, it would be easy for me to see one go down and be pretty happy about that. I'm not gonna lie, I'd be pretty happy about that. And I've really been working on myself. That is the same. It falls in that lashon hara. It falls into that. We're just going to layer a degree of separation closer to us and saying, okay, let's go all the way to the heart, not just what you speak. You've got it in there, that joy. And I guarantee you, if you've got it in your heart, it's going to come out your mouth.
Right.
Because out of the abundance of the heart,
the mouth speaks.
The mouth speaks.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of In the Middle. Like and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast to support the show.